So stay with us. You're still on Good Morning Nigeria. And our newspaper reviewer is already in the studio. Chukudi Okoli Ugbaja. Chuks, tell us, how did you manage to wade through? How did you manage
wiggle yourself through?
To wade through
You thought the rain would hold Akruka back. Here I am.
Live and direct.
Here I am.
Always in the lights to have
my way back in time.
Yeah.
When men were men and women were won by those who deserved
them. Yeah.
What?
Oh boy, I like that. Women were won by those who deserved them. I give you a thumbs up for that. Let's quick on that note. Let's quickly go to the papers. I'll begin with the Blueprint newspaper, and just above the masthead of the Blueprint newspaper, poor maintenance, faulty switch caused Abuja Kaduna train crash. That's coming from the NSIB. Details on page 20. You want to know the details? Go to page 20. And below the masthead, Abuja was a reputable public servant. The late Abuja is being remembered by the governor of Nasarawa State and David Mack and all Nigerians. You find the details on page 7. On business, on sports, NNL signs 500 million naira sponsorship deal for sports enthusiasts. You find all the details on page 32. And the headlines: FG honors Ogoni 4 to resume oil production 30 years after, and directs NSA to begin dialogue among communities and NMPCL. Details on page 8. On the side piece of the picture story, FCT Area Council polls, INEC declares campaign open. Details on page 8. And below the picture story, at Anga 80, Tinubu advocates international court for sovereign debt, action on debt relief. With riders, restates Nigeria's interest in permanent seat at Security Council and says no individual nation holds the key to global peace. Very strong words there by the president. You turn to page 8 for all the details. And the bottom plate, government opens 42 IDP camps as flood submerges 5 Kogi communities. Details on page 7. And credit crunch looms as banks avoid CBN lending. Details on page 20. Police nab 4,383, rescue 1,138 kidnapped victims in 3 months. And Nigeria was Belgium to achieve $74 billion livestock growth by 2035. And the picture story you see there, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Blueprint Newspapers Limited, Malam Salisu Umar, presenting a copy of the paper to Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Apollina Anele, during her visit to the corporate headquarters of the newspaper in Abuja on Wednesday. Let me quickly go to the Leadership newspaper. On the Leadership newspaper, above the masthead, we have Oscar Ibru's death, a great loss to Orobo Nation and Nigeria. Oporovere, details on page 28. And government issues flood alert to 15 states. Flood submerges 5 Kogi communities. You find the details on page 7 on the Leadership newspaper. And just below the headmass, PENCOM plans fresh reforms to safeguard pension savings. Details on page 4. And with subsidy windfall, states have no excuse for lack of development. That's coming from the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. And the headlines: billionaire Samad Rabiu forecast 1,400 to the dollar exchange rate by year end. Find the details on page 4. And how 12 girls stole 4.8 billion naira materials from Kaindi power plant. That's attributed to the police. Details on page 16. Side piece of the picture story: alleged age falsification. Police to arraign retired AIG CPs today. Details on page 7. Despite our friendship, I will work against Tinubu in 2027. That's coming from Sule Lamido, former governor of Jigawa State. Details on page 15. Embattled Rivers ex-administrator Ibas visits president Find the details on page 21. An investigation bureau blames Abuja Kaduna train derailment on poor maintenance. Find details on page 28. 31 years after tragedy, Tinubu honors Ogoni 4 with CON. This is on page 7. And don't release funds to former APC council chairman. Oshun wants a do. And the picture story there, Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun middle with Taiwanese investors at Shagamu at Abeokuta interchange recently. Mr. Damola.
Yes, I have the Daily Trust newspaper here. And just below the nameplate, Kano Maradi Rail project to reach Katsina by December, says the federal government. Details of that story can be found on page 24. Flood destroys houses, farms in Kogi, disrupts activities in Lagos. Page 6. Then policeman killed as gunmen abduct guards in Kwara. Details of that story can be found on page 5. Federal government goes after certificate forgers. That's the major headline of the newspaper for today. And that headline story can be found on page 3 and the front page as well. Reform or risk irrelevance, Tinubu warns at Onga. Family of 6 found unconscious, 1 dead in Benue. Details on page 30. Oshun to federal government, don't release LG funds to sacked APC chairman. And CBN, Naira abuse will raise printing cost. Details of that story can be found on page 24. And the front picture says staff of the National Assembly Service Commission barricade entrance to the office in Utako, Abuja yesterday, protesting against poor welfare. Chooks?
Thank you, Demola. There is a statement by Wiki, the subsidy removal, providing a windfall for states. You know, without that windfall, some states would have sunk by now. It's the second time I'm hearing it. The first time was when Daniel Bwala, one of the presidential aides, said that the subsidy removal, the money got from it, saved from it, enabled government to now give money to states that were almost dying.
More money.
I think we need to put this to economists and see how viable that argument is, you know. But hearing it a second time from the FCT minister makes it interesting. And it's a point that we should pursue because many of us see removal of subsidy as one devil that should not have visited us, you know. But they are saying it provided more money for states, kept them afloat and all that. I'm just, you know, popping up that for further reportorial research. FG honors Ogoni 4 to resume production in that area. Exploration rather. 30 years after. That is quite good. I remember when the tribunal pronounced, I was a newscaster in those days, pronounced Kensarawa and 3 others, you know, guilty and somewhere to face the hangman. I remember how Ledumite, the one that was freed, sang out of the venue, you know, in all exuberance.
And the efforts of Wole Soyinka and others to appeal to the government to, you know,
put pressure on them.
You know, a military regime, the best military regime is worse than the worst civilian regime as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
You know, there was no need to kill those people.
The draconian,
you know, I want to tell you that the action of late President Yaradua did a lot to douse tension there.
Yes.
Otherwise,
the amnesty,
you know, because the Ogoni people did not really give up. They kept on, they said, come and kill every one of us here. Dialogue. I think it's the ultimate solution to some of these things, you know. It's, did you hear the one about poor maintenance? You know, leading to the derailment of the train. That's let's not go to the cheap resort and nobody will be sacked after all this and all that. Let's talk about being diligent at the duty post. Let's talk about effectiveness at the duty post. Things that produce what's good for humanity around you. It's not palatable to hear that. Actually, they said they were told that a port, that the switch they're talking about, which was manually operated, had become unserviceable. They said they pronounced that even before the derailment. So why were we not proactive in terms of making sure that sadness does not result from a plane, a train ride? We shouldn't be listening to things like this by now.
No,
mind you, it may not be the fault of the people running it. They may have asked for money to do it and the money didn't come, in which case, that is why it is always good to investigate.
That's what
if it's not working and it's not working and the money has not been released, what that is, stop the train rides.
Okay,
it's as simple as that. Other clients, that's what they will do.
They don't operate.
My dear,
that real.
Politics may not allow the incumbent to stop the train ride.
We need political will to save Nigerian lives.
I know what you're talking about.
Especially on the roads and on the
But you see, when journalists talk about things that are immersed in governance and politics, then the bath belly lights begin, they no rub them back. It's not that easy. But at the end of the day, you're saying what was ideal for Nigerians. Lives first, safety first.
If the train rides have been stopped, those that use the trains are those in power. Something would have been done.
Yeah, if they have at least.
You should not afraid. You should, if you're heading an agency, you should not be afraid to talk to power, to tell them this is because lives were almost lost.
People will. Federal government goes after certificate forgers.
People still forge certificates.
And age.
They don't get shame.
And age.
Each time, I did the school certificate 3 times. We were trying to get out of very bad grade and all that. Each time they served me the mathematics question paper, I left after 10 minutes. If I don't know what I go write, what I still they do for that place? Well, I was getting A's in my English and all that. Am I not doing well today now? How many people they come up for TV for Nigeria like me?
And also alleged age falsification.
So the point is, why forge a certificate? Under the umbrella the Almighty has spread, there's a space for you. Just learn a skill. Some of the things we pursue are not necessary. There are many ways to kill a rat, and to live life, And
on a final note, in 30 seconds, embattled Rivers ex-administrator Ibas visits president.
I don't know why he should be embattled. Let him just account for his stewardship. I'm not going to do any alarmist or sensational headline,
Anyway, well, we just have to go now, but, flood destroys houses, farms in Kogi, disrupts activities in Lagos.
The recurring decimal.
Yeah,
we have to
always,
do something about.
Always. Well, the government is doing something, but also the activities of, we Nigerians also contribute to it a lot.
We must learn to obey simple rules. Hygiene was very important in those days.
So good.
Our Saturday sanitation, it was fun. Families would just come out and try to clean.
And we did the community labor, Oh my God.
All right, so Chooks, we want to community leave.
Yes, you'll extend that right hand to bounce me out of the studio.
Thank you. It's such
always
a delight to have you.
The feeling is mutual.
All right.
Thank you so much.
So we'll see you tomorrow again.
Okay.
All right. So we'll take a break now. So when we return, we will kickstart our conversation on harnessing potentials of maritime sector.